And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking qualifying and an absolute disaster for, well, in particular, Lando Norris. And I think really Lewis Hamilton. The whole Grand Prix so far has been a bit of a disaster. But Max Verstappen, what a lap to get pole by the slimmest of margins. But still, the biggest takeaway from this qualifying is Lando Norris. What on earth is going on? So, first of all, absolute congratulations to Max Verstappen. Another pole lap when it looked like it wasn't going to be done. I mean, he's up there with the Hamiltons, the Sennas, the Schumachers, doing things that you don't think are quite possible with the car, although they must be, because you can't break physics. That car must be capable of that, but that's what an engineer would say anyway. But let's be fair, he was the best guy on the day on Saturday, beating both Piastri, Norris, and George Russell. And that George Russell lap, until, you had the Piastri and the Verstappen lap, looked absolutely incredible too. What a race. And what a race we're going to have. And Max Verstappen has said that those McLarens are fast in race pace. Yes. Now, the big question is going to be, are we going to have the same issue that we had in Japan, where McLarens are, I believe the McLarens are faster in the race, but are they going to be able to pass? Didn't happen in Japan. Here, I think it is a bit easier to pass. A bit, but not much. So this is going to be your lineup for the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, with Max Verstappen on pole position. Second, by the slimmest of margins, is Oscar Piastri. Then we have third, George Russell again. Not much in it. Fourth, Charles Leclerc. I think that's the best he was realistically going to get. Fifth, well done, Kimi Antonelli. Sixth, Carlos Sainz. Welcome to Formula One. He did well in Bahrain, and again, he's done it here. He's beaten Albon. Albon, it just wasn't quite good enough. Seventh, Lewis Hamilton. I mean, it has, when you look at the gaps he's had, to pole, the gaps he's had to Leclerc, will the real Lewis Hamilton please stand up? We all know he is better than that, but the race might be something else. Yuki Tsunoda in 8th. Awesome qualifying for him, given how difficult it seemingly has been in that second Red Bull seat. 9th is Pierre Gasly. 10th is Lando Norris. Yeah, we'll get into Lando in a bit. Oh dear. 11th, Alexander Albon, just missing out. We've got 12th, Liam Lawson, out qualifying Isaac Hadjar, so he's going to be happy with that. 13th, Fernando Alonso. It looked at one point he could be in the top 10, but sadly no. 14th, Isaac Hadjar. 15th, Ollie Behrman, the guy that had his debut here under the most difficult circumstances. I could not have thought of a more difficult debut, with less practice time as well. And he scored points. Can he score points for 15? Absolutely he can. I mean, when you think about it, 20th in Bahrain, yeah, you can pass easier in Bahrain. 10th in the race, which, let's be fair, gives us a bit of hope for Lando Norris. But anyway, 16th, Lance Stroll. Okay. 17th, Jack Doohan. He's doing better at the moment. He's been given more time apparently, but at the moment, I don't think he's doing enough. 18th, Hulkenberg. Yeah, you got qualified Bortoleto. That's the absolute minimum. Disappointing in Esteban Ocon and Bortoleto, all the way down there on the grid. Yeah. So, Gabrielli. But this is it. Lando Norris. The big story coming out of qualifying is Lando Norris crashed out in Q3 on his fast lap. Everyone says it is so easy to make a mistake in Saudi Arabia. And if you've ever done, not that it's a comparison, if you've ever done the track online without traction control on F1 24 or 23, yes, it is one of the hardest tracks. Absolutely it is. But these guys are professionals. And if one guy, you don't want to be the one guy that made a mistake. And Lando is that guy that made a mistake. He ended up going into the corner a bit too hot, hitting the curb, and the car he lost control of the car. So this, I'm making sure it's silent. I'm not going to play too much of it. This is it. He comes in.
Another one.
We will just turn that down there. So this is Lando Norris on his fast lap. And as you can see, he's absolutely holding it. This guy wants to get pole. He's probably the favourite for the race at this point. And he just completely loses it. He completely loses it. Why? Well, Karun Chandok did a really good analogy here. When he hits the curb here, he's a tiny bit wide At this, I'm trying to point at the screen, but you can't see my hand. He's a tiny bit wide at this point here. When you compared it to Oscar Piastri's lap, it was a lot closer there. And he's unsettled there. He's still pretty much always getting the throttle buried. But as you can see, the way he's steering, he's almost got full, not quite full lock, but look at the steering wheel. He's going, it's not going to end well because you know he's going to go wide over the curb. But then he's like, no, I'm going to turn it anyway. And then at this point, as you can see, with the steering, he's lost it. He's lost it, absolutely losing it. And there it is. As Martin Brundle said, he's heading to the scene of the accident, and absolutely he does. What is going to happen for the race though? What is Lando Norris going to do in the race? Well, if you remember, Max Verstappen started 15th and he finished second. So absolutely, with I think one of the fastest cars out there, he can finish on the podium, just like in Bahrain when he started 6th. But remember in Bahrain he did get that 5-second penalty, which, let's be fair, didn't particularly help. So he can do it. Will he do it? Well, this is going to be a big test. Maybe this is the man upstairs, if you believe him, offering Lando a favour, showing us he can do it. You imagine now, if he wins the race or gets on the podium, he's potentially going to be the man of the race after starting 10th. He's going to have to survive, though, what is a very tricky first corner. And as we know, you don't want to get your wings pinched or anything like that. If he can survive that, not bad at all. And if you remember in Bahrain, he gained 3 positions, in the first couple of corners alone as well. He can do it, but he's going to have to believe he can do it. And therein lies the big issue with Lando Norris, is the believing. So Ferrari for the grid tomorrow, P4 and P7, very good for Charles Leclerc. I don't think it's as bad as people have made out for Lewis Hamilton, fair enough. But still, this stat I thought was quite interesting. Carlos Sainz from Motorsport has now qualified his Ferrari replacement Lewis Hamilton in back-to-back races. Is it awkward? Maybe, I guess. A lot of people suggesting they've made the wrong decision. I still don't think so, because you look at Carlos Sainz, and yeah, I mean, Alex Albon ruined him for the first couple of races, which is understandable. And now he's good, but is he better than Leclerc? No. Ferrari decided to get rid of him out of Leclerc for a reason. As much as I love Carlos, but what I love about Carlos is his tenacity and the fact that this hasn't really stopped him. Could we see him in a Ferrari in a couple of years' time? Absolutely we could. With the performances we know he can do. The issue with those performances, I've personally always felt with Carlos, he's just not consistent enough. On his day, he can beat anyone. He can be up there. But those days are not consistent enough. And lots of people saying, "Oh, Hamilton's getting old. He's on the way down." Let's just give it a few more races, shall we? Let's give it at least until the beginning of the summer. Kind of like May, June, maybe up until the British Grand Prix, until we kind of have a more concrete decision on how we feel Lewis Hamilton is going at Ferrari. I'm keeping the faith. I guess we're going to have we need to keep our fingers crossed, but also keeping the faith is it George Russell, P3. Could he win the race? Well, this is the thing. Yes, he could. Max Verstappen could. In a way, I think Max Verstappen, if he gets into the lead first and Oscar Piastri can't jump him, that's going to be really good for George Russell, because I feel that he's about as fast as Verstappen in race pace on the evidence we've seen in practice 1 and 2. So he could be there with an interesting strategy. I think if Oscar Piastri can get the jump on Max Verstappen, Piastri is winning. Is not necessarily winning, because hey, we don't safety cars are going to be an issue here, but I think he's looking very, very strong. Another interesting stat from the race with P16 in qualifying, Lance Stroll now overtakes Kevin Magnussen as the driver with the most Q1 exits. I just thought I'd just leave that there. And there we go. There's Carlos Sainz. We've been talking about Carlos. P6, absolutely brilliant for showing his class. And there's a chance that he may learn more at Williams than he's ever done at Ferrari or McLaren. Remember, he was there when McLaren were not very good, and he helped build that team up before he left. I think he could learn more at Williams than he did at Ferrari, in my opinion, about building up a team. And we know now, I think, how good Alex Albon is. As well, Yuki now has reached Q3 in 4 out of 5 races so far this season, driving for both the Red Bull teams and another. I'm just going to leave you with another interesting stat about Yuki Tsunoda. He gets his best qualifying result with Red Bull so far with a P8, and it's also the best result by the second Red Bull driver in the last 7 months. The best qualifying result for a Red Bull driver in the last 7 months. That is absolutely insane. But there we go. So who do we think is going to win the race? Well, for me, I'm going to go with Piastri. I think that McLaren pace is going to be really good, and I think Lando Norris has a very good chance of getting on the podium. Am I going to be wrong? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Verstappen's on the podium and or wins the race, but I'm going with it. I think it's going to be Oscar Piastri. But here we go. I've been wrong before. I think the McLaren pace may well be too much because, unlike Japan, you can overtake here. And if a lot of people suggested that it was Oscar Piastri that was the fastest man in Japan as well, questioning why Lando didn't let him go. But there we go. So, if you are not subscribed, please give us a subscribe. That would give us a massive smile. If you already are, you just clicking on this is more than enough for us. So thank you very much for that. But until then, keep calm and carry on. And speak to you soon, obviously. Cheers for watching. But above all else, be safe.